Hey, what's up guys? In this video I'm going to show you how to remove the fender on your Honda Civic. And to do that we are going to have to remove the front bumper, the headlight, and then also the rocker molding. So it's going to be a pretty long video because I'm going to show you how to take off everything else first before we take off the fender. But I will put timestamps in the description below of where each new part that I'm taking off starts in the video. That way you can skip ahead if you want to skip a certain part that I'm taking off. Start out by opening up the hood. And then starting out here on the passenger side, we're going to have to remove these bumper clips right here and this one right there. And you can do this two different ways. You can use a clip tool or you can use a flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to show you both ways. So I like using a clip tool, just a little bit quicker and easier. Just slip it underneath the top part of the clip, and then you pry it up on it. And so the middle portion of the clip there gets popped up, and then once that's up, you can just pull the clip out. So same with this one, real easy. And using a flathead screwdriver, you can pry up on one side a little bit, and then go around to the other side and twist up on it and pry it up. Same thing. This clip here, it's a little bit different. This is actually usually used on fenders. Is where you typically find it. It's same idea. The top portion of the clip needs to come out. So start on one side and work your way around and pop the clip out. You can see they're a little different, but still same idea. And then once you have these clips out, what you're going to do is you're going to take the bumper portion here and you're going to kind of pull it up and towards the engine bay, and that pops it loose from the fender right here. And then come over to the more the middle portion of the bumper here, and same thing, two more bumper clips to take out right here. And same with these right here. And obviously when you're taking these out, you want to keep track of them. I just use a box to keep all my parts in. And also when you're taking these clips out, you never want to push real hard, and then you might slip off and you might scratch your bumper here or here. So you always just want to kind of take your time and just be gentle and just kind of work the clip out. Don't never push real hard, because if you slip off, you could definitely scratch your bumper. Alright, so we got the middle portion out. You can see bumper's starting to get loose here. And over here on the driver's side, same thing. And then again, we're going to pick up on the bumper right here, and it pops it loose. You can see the bumper here is loose from the top now. And then come over to the side of the bumper here. We're on the driver's side, and there's two Phillips screws that need to come out. There's one right here, and then there's also one right here that goes in from the bumper into the fender. And it's kind of at an angle, like it's kind of vertically, but it goes a little bit this way. And to do that, we're going to take a Phillips screwdriver. I'm using a bit and a DeWalt here, but you can just use a regular Phillips screwdriver also. And we're going to take both these screws out. And then once you have those out, we're going to have to pop the bumper loose from the fender here, and there's a plastic spacer under here that's on the fender that clips and holds the bumper in. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our hands and we're going to put a little bit of pressure kind of pulling out on the bumper, and then we're going to need to pry on the between the bumper and the fender and pop this bumper loose. Now you can use a screwdriver, but I definitely wouldn't recommend it, just because you can scratch your fender or your bumper. So I'm using a plastic pry tool. I just got it off Amazon for pretty inexpensive, and I'll link in the description below where you can get these. And what we're going to do is just take one hand, put a little pressure on it, and then take your plastic pry tool and you can go between the bumper and the fender. And we're just going to slowly pry out on it. As you can see, these slots right here, so that's kind of where you want to pry, is on those slots, and it'll pop it loose from, you can see this plastic space underneath, it pops it loose from that. And then come around to the other side, and we're going to do the same thing. And next, we're going to climb underneath the bumper. And starting here on the passenger side, we need to remove these bumper clips here. So these are just like the ones that we removed up top. And same thing, so I'm just going to use a flathead on these. So again, start on one side, and then come around to the other. Just work it out. And then right here we have a bolt, so you want to take a 10mm socket to remove that. And then there's also a Phillips screw right here that needs to come out. And we're going to work our way down back side of the bumper here. There's several clips here, and same thing, same type of clip as above. And these clips here on the bottom, they can get, as the cars get older and more, these clips get pretty grimy, and they can become pretty easy to break the older the car gets. So you just want to take your time, really. If it's real grimy and it's not wanting to come out, just wiggle, pry out a little bit, and then work your way to the other side, and just a little bit, and just slowly work it out. Because if you try to force it and pry, real hard at one side at first, you're going to end up breaking the clip. But if you do break these, it's not that big of a deal. You can get these pretty cheap off Amazon also, and I'll link to these also in the description below. Same thing with this one. Again, 10mm and Phillips. And then we're back to the end of the bumper here on the driver's side. Pop these last two clips out. And at this point, the bumper is just about ready to come off. But one last thing we need to do on both sides is, just like how there was a plastic bracket that held the bumper on right here, there's a separate bracket that goes underneath the headlight here. And it's got similar clips to what we did over here. And so what we're going to do is we're going to grab a hold of where we loosened it, and we're going to kind of like pull down on it a little bit, just put a little pressure on it. And when you do that, you can see there's a clip there and there. And so we're going to take this plastic pry tool again, and we're going to go in underneath the headlight, and we're going to go underneath that black tab, and then we're going to pry up on it to pop the bumper loose. So I'm going to pull down on it, and you can see the tab right there. pry up on it. And then same with this one. And that loosened it up. You can see the openings in the bumper there where those lock in. And so when you're doing that, you kind of want to pull down and then also pull out. And then we're going to keep moving. A few more underneath here. There's one right there. And then another one here. And then one more down over here. And you can see the bumper just popped off when I did that last one. So those are the slots there. And then those are the tabs there that I was getting underneath there and then pushing up on it like that. And we're going to come around to the passenger side. We're going to do the same thing. Again, pull down on the bumper. These tabs. And then before we do this last one here on the end of the headlight here, be ready to catch the bumper, because the bumper can basically come falling off at this point. So you want to put your knee up underneath the bumper, just get ready to catch it. And then at this point you can pick up on the top part of the bumper here and kind of just wiggle the bumper until you get it off here. And as you're taking the bumper off, these can kind of bind up a little bit, so that's why you just kind of want to wiggle the bumper back and forth to get these loose, because they kind of want to bind up in here when you're taking it off. And now that we got the bumper off, we can go ahead and start removing the headlight. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to unplug it. And here is the plug right here behind the headlight. And it's kind of easiest if you use two hands to do this. So I'm going to use my right hand. I'm going to use my thumb on my right hand to push this tab right here on the end. And I'm going to use my other hand to pull out on it while I do that, because this tab can be a little bit tricky sometimes. So I'm going to use my thumb, push in, and then I'm going to use my other hand to pull out at the same time. And then we're going to come around to the lower portion of the headlight here. This bracket is attached to the headlight, so we need to remove this clip here. And it's the same type of clip that we removed to take the bumper off. And then also there's a bolt there. We're going to need a 10mm socket to take that out. And again, just use a flathead or a clip tool. Same process as before. Pop this clip out. And come around to the side. We're going to take this out. Again, 10mm socket. And then on the top of the headlight here, another bolt here and another bolt right here. And now the headlight's ready to come out. And there's these tabs that's on the headlight that's molded into the plastic. You can see that tab right there. It kind of holds on to the fender here. So as you're pulling it out, you're gonna have to wiggle a little bit, get this front one off, and then for the back here, you're gonna have to kind of pick up on the headlight, or you can even use your plastic pry tool and kind of pry up on it. Just get that tab. There we go. Get that tab out. And then once you got the tab out, you basically just pull straight out on the headlight. And then you got this clip right here that's holding the wiring on. Just pull on it and pop that off. And next thing we're going to do is we're going to need to remove this side rocker molding. So we're going to start out by coming to the back of the rocker molding here, and there is 3 Phillips screws right here that all need to come out. And because it's such a tight gap right here between the tire and the wheel well here, where we're going to get these screws out, there's a couple different options you can do. You can take the rear wheel off and just use a regular Phillips screwdriver to get to these, or if you have a real stubby Phillips screwdriver that you can get between here, that'll work also. My favorite way is to just use a ratchet with a 1/4 inch socket with a Phillips bit in it, and it's super easy to just get in here and to take these Phillips screws out. And you can get these for pretty cheap off Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below where you can get those. Pop this upper one out. And we'll move to these lower ones. And typically you just got to get it started, and then you can get the rest by hand. And then we're going to climb underneath the rocker molding here, and starting here in the back, there's a clip right here. These are the same type of clips that hold the bumper on. And these are a little tricky to get to, but again, just pry a little bit on each side. And you pull the middle out and you pop this clip loose. And we're going to keep moving on down until you see another one. Same thing. These clips here on the bottom, they can get kind of grimy from all the road grime. And they can be pretty easy to break. But if you stick with just prying a little bit on one side, and then move around to the other side with your flathead, and then pry a little bit, just kind of keep working all the angles. So keep moving down. Got another one right here. Move up to the front. And I do have a jack underneath the car to make the filming easier, but when you're doing it, you don't necessarily need to have a jack underneath, as long as you can climb under and see what you're doing. And then we have one more here in the front. And next, you're going to open both doors. And what we're going to do is we need to take the molding and we're going to slide the whole molding backwards. And to do that, we're going to use a rubber mallet and then a cloth to cover the rubber mallet, so that way when we're tapping on the rocker molding, it doesn't scuff up the paint or anything. And so what we're going to do is right here on the edge, you can see where the edge of the rocker, and then there's the inner like fender part in here. You don't want to hit on the inner part, you just want to stay on the very edge of the rocker molding. And we're just going to lightly pull out on the bottom, and then we're going to use the mallet, and tap on the bottom corner here and drive the rocker molding back. And when you're doing this, you want to have your other hand that's free, you want to have it ready to catch it when it falls down. Maybe put your leg underneath there to keep it from hitting the ground, or have somebody help you. So you can see we're making progress. It's going back. Just keep going. And then once you get towards the end, you just want to wiggle it a little bit, and it'll come right off. And then to put this back on, I'm going to make a separate video on how to do that, and I'll link to that in the description below also. And now that we got the rocker off, we can go ahead and start working on getting the fender off. First thing I'm going to do now is we're going to take off this bracket that was holding the rocker on here. There's a Phillips screw here, and then also there's one underneath. To get this off, you can just turn your wheel, turn it to so the back of the tire here goes in. It'll give you plenty of access to this, or you can do the Phillips bit on a ratchet to get in between here, or a stubby screwdriver. So there's one Phillips screw there, and then there's one on the bottom. And next, and then take a rubber mallet, and we're going to drive this bracket forward. Pops that off. Take this and just turn it about 45 degrees, and then pull out on it, and then reinsert it back into this bracket. And then this bracket will go back onto your rocker molding when you go to put that on. And again, I will make a separate video on how to put the rocker molding back on, and I'll link to that in the description below. And next, we're going to remove these 3 clips right here. And these clips can be a little bit tricky, and I'll explain to you here how they work. So these clips are either going to they have 2 tabs that you got to push in on to get these clips off, and it's either going to be on the front and the back, or it's going to be on the top and the bottom. Depending how they put them in from the factory, it could be either or, but they're always across from each other. So I always start with a real tiny flathead screwdriver. Again, you know, you're right next to the paint, so you just want to be careful. But you want to pull the fender liner and make a little gap, so you can press on the clip, and you just heard a little snap. So that means that the clip is on the front and the back. So I got the front loose, and I want to hold out on the fender liner to keep pressure on it, to keep it from clipping back in. And then I'm going to use a pick tool from a pick tool set. And again, I'll link to these description below where you can get these. And what we're going to do is we're going to come in between the fender and the fender liner. We're going to go in between them, get up in behind that clip, and then we're going to pull it, and we're going to try to push that tab on the back side to release this clip. So we're going to sneak in underneath it here and pull towards me, and you just heard that snap, and the clip's out. So you can see the clip here. That's what it looks like. So you see how there's 2 tabs, and both tabs need to be pushed at separate times to get the clip out. Alright, so we're going to do the same thing for this one. Pull out on the fender liner. I always start with the small flathead screwdriver. Push on the front. Alright, and this one, so it's not snapping, so that means it's most likely on the bottom and top. So I'm going to re-angle my flathead here. I'm going to kind of come up from the bottom. Alright, and so I heard the snap, so that means it's top and bottom. Again, holding pressure out on the fender liner to keep it from clipping back in. Now I'm going to come in at an angle from the top, and boom. We just got that one out. Alright, last one's up here. Same thing. So that means it's front and back. And if you do break these, again, not that big of a deal. I can I'll link to these in the description below for replacement ones also. And we got that last one out. And then come back around to the bottom of the fender here where the rocker molding was, and we're going to remove this bolt here. And then open the front door, and from the inside of the jamb here, there's another bolt right here. And then we got a couple more bolts up top here to remove, but before we remove those, one thing you're going to want to do is, you can see how close the fender is to the pillar here. When you go to take the fender off, you don't want to scratch your A-pillar. So one thing I recommend doing is just taking some masking tape and putting it between the fender and the A-pillar, and then tape it up on the A-pillar. And this will just protect it when we go to take it off. It'll protect it from scratching this. And I would put probably 3 layers. Just kind of shimmy it down between there. Put it on there. I'm going to put 3 layers on it just to protect it. And don't use like duct tape or anything. Just use like painting tape you find at Lowe's or something for masking off. Alright, get that on there. Alright, now let's come back to these bolts. And we can go ahead and remove those. And now we're going to move up towards the front of the fender here and start working on this. We're going to remove this clip here. It's a little different than the other clips we've been dealing with. This one's got like little slots on the front and back. So same thing. Take a flathead screwdriver, pry it out a little bit. Don't pry too hard. Then turn it, and then pry on the other side. Turn it back to the other side. It's kind of same thing. Just go back and forth. Slowly pry out on the middle. And we'll pop that clip out, and that just releases the fender from the fender liner here. Now we're going to move up a little farther here. Alright, so we got this wire here that attaches to the fender. Just reach over and squeeze both ends, and at the same time push down on the wiring harness, and then just let that hang there. And now we're going to get to this bolt that's right here, but the washer jug, if you're working on the passenger side, you're going to be dealing with the washer jug. If you're on the driver's side, you're not. But if you are dealing with this washer jug, we're just going to remove this bolt here that bolts the washer jug on. Take that out, and then that will give us just enough play where we can get past the washer jug and get this bolt out. And both these are, just use a 10mm socket to get them out. So now this portion of the fender is loose. And now the fender is ready to come off, so we're going to pull out on the bottom of the fender a little bit. And you can see where the fender liner kind of loops into the fender back here. So we're just going to take the fender liner and just push it through that hole. And that kind of releases the bottom of the fender here. And then just grab a hold of the fender on the wheel well here and slowly kind of roll it up. And in the back here, you just got to push down on this rubber molding, and it releases from the fender. Again, as you're doing this, on the upper part right here, there's another part where the fender liner loops through the fender, and you just gotta push on that as you're kind of lifting up on it. So you can see that right there, that was looped through there. And as you're pulling it off, just be careful not to hit your hood, you know, keep an eye on that. You can even put tape on your hood right here if you want to, keep from scratching anything. And then just slowly take the fender off. And that's it, guys. That's how you remove your fender. Thanks for watching.